Well, hello, this is Brandon Ivey, and I really don't actually have a specific topic to talk about. I just have random thoughts that I just felt like putting it on recording. I've been thinking about this for the last couple of days. I did a mindset training this past Saturday, and I don't know what for whatever reason, but this one really touched me. And I remember, and I don't know which one of my mentors told me this, but they always said, they love doing trainings, and in these trainings, they are helping people, but at the same time, they're also learning themselves. Because one thing, when you're training on information that you didn't create, training that is not yours, you're kind of regurgitating information that you've always been taught, that you've heard of in the past. At different stages of your life, you can become a master trainer over this information. But that doesn't necessarily mean you actually understand the information. This is very key to really get and understand. You can be a parrot and repeat information and knowledge that you've been taught and that you've heard. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you have actually experienced this yourself. You think of college professors, and I had this run-in when I was at Morehouse College about a business professor who would teach about micro and macroeconomics and how to be a successful business person, yet he himself was never a successful business person. And I challenged him on it. I said, so what you're teaching me is theory, knowledge that others have achieved, and you're just repeating that information to us. And you have a professorship because you're able to regurgitate this information better than other people. And I was taught that when you teach and train, you're also teaching yourself. You're reminding yourself of information that you first learned about. So you're teaching and you're learning at the same time. That's the biggest benefit. And this actually happened to me. I taught a training called Mindset Training. And I taught on information that I teach on all the time. But life is always about personal growth and expansion, and I've had new experiences since the last time I taught this topic. And hearing myself teach on it, I actually learned something new, or better yet, not learn something new, but it's like another light bulb that goes off in your head. And one of the things that came back on me is when I first had the first aha moment in my life. The first, I get it. The first moment that you know that nothing's going to be the same from this point forward, because you consciously understand something new. And so if you're hearing this and you've never heard me speak before, you're like, what in the world is he talking about? Well, we've all heard about a topic called the secret, right? That what is the secret to life? What is the secret to success? What is that magic pill, that magic moment, or that one thing that people are doing that's allowing them to have success over everybody else? Well, a couple of weeks ago, I attended a conference in Dallas, Texas. It was the Video Plus conference, the Direct Selling Association Top 100. And it's like I got something because I had never experienced this before. I walked into a room, and it was a conference room. And I've been to many conferences over the past 14 years. And most conferences that I've been to, you have a room filled up with people that have no money and a lot of people that do have money. And they're all there for a common goal to celebrate a business or a company. And it's a positive environment, and you feel the energy of this positive energy. We all experience that, and we leave those conventions excited about what we're doing. This one was different. It's the same convention type room, same amount of people in the room, only the people in this room have a combined worth of over $10 billion. $10 billion. So as I'm in that room, I'm feeling an energy vibe, a vibration. And this energy vibration was different, something that I've never experienced before. And it goes back to something I read a long time ago about what Henry Ford said. You know, he said, if I were to lose all my money and I had to start over again, the first thing I would do is put myself in a room or hang out in an area where nothing but successful people are. Why? Because the energy and the vibration from them is going to rub off on him. It's what John C. Maxwell calls a growth environment. And here's basically what John C. Maxwell said about that, a growth environment. He said a growth environment is a place where people are better than me. A place where you are continually challenged. A place where my focus is forward, where the atmosphere is affirmative. A place where I am often out of my comfort zone. A place where I wake up excited. A place where failure is not my enemy. A place where others are growing, where people acquire change. And now that I actually experience this, because I could teach on it, but I actually experience being in an environment where people's conversations are different, where their thought processes are different, the way they operate is different, the amount of money that they make is different, and feeling the energy and vibration from them that I'd never felt before. I have a new take on the same information that I always train on. And it took me personally to another level in thinking, another level of experience, a whole new meaning on what I've always trained on. And I was training on mindset, training on the secret, vibration, emotions, and thought process. You see, Tony Robbins, and I finally got this recently. Tony Robbins is a disciple, so to speak, of Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn, who learned under, Earl Nightingale. Earl Nightingale, who learned under Napoleon Hill. And they all figured out the secret. You might have seen Rhonda Byrnes' video on the secret. And like Think and Grow Rich, that video left out a lot of stuff. Bob Proctor even talked about it. You hear the law of success, the law of thinking, or even what Kevin Trudeau talked about, your wish is your command. There is a physical law. However, there's purposely things that have been left out. Vibration and the power of emotions, and believing that you already have something before you even have it. It is not the fake it till you make it, but the act as if. Thoughts are things. You trick your brain into believing what it is you want to be. The brain doesn't know if it's true or not. The power of affirmations and having positive thoughts. Because what Tony Robbins teaches on is the law of the universe. He talks about changing your physiology. Okay, here's one of my aha moments here. I was talking about this with my business partner, Greg Thurman. Changing your physiology. So Tony Robbins doesn't have to say, changing your thought process and all this other stuff. He talks about changing your physiology. Why? What happens? Why is your physiology so important? Well, if you have a negative outlook on life, you automatically feel bad. You have a negative approach to life. Your physiology is a negative. And by default, you will attract other negative people to you. Other people that have the same type of physiology as yourself. So if you change your physiology to a positive state, it's where you feel good about yourself. You feel good about your surroundings. You're going to start to attract that in your life. That's also part of the secret. So Tony Robbins teaches the secret without having to say, I'm teaching you the secret. All right? Because changing your physiology by default changes everything else about you. It changes the way you think. It changes the way you feel. It changes the way you approach other people. It changes how you interact with life. And by changing your physiology, it does so without you having to understand the byproduct of what's going to happen next. You can't help it. Whether you like it or not, by changing your physiology, you will change everything else about your life. So Tony Robbins has found a niche and teaching you the secret without you even knowing that that's what you're learning, because you're focusing on changing your physiology. Rhonda Byrnes talks about changing your thought process. Bob Proctor talks about changing your thought process. Earl Nightingale said, the strangest secret is that you become what you think about most of the time. You become what you think about most of the time. Well, what determines your thought process? How you feel determines your thought process. If you're having a bad feeling, you're going to have bad thoughts. So Tony Robbins found his niche, Jim Rohn found his niche, John C. Maxwell found his niche. They are all teaching the same thing, just at a different way, a different approach. What really made sense to me is when I listened to Your Wish is Your Command by Kevin Trudeau. And he said something. He said, you know, most of us go through life looking at life through a magnifying glass. And when we want something out of life, we base it off of what is currently going on in our life at that moment. And that we possibly can't have what we want because we don't see it in our lives. The Bible talks about having faith, having eyes without ceasing, you know, having eyes that don't see. Well, I know I'm saying that wrong, but vision without sight. You don't need to see it to believe it. We believe that there's air, but we can't see it. We believe that we're going to breathe. It's a law. It's going to happen. We don't have to understand it. We don't have to see the air. We don't have to see the wind, but we know that we're breathing. Your understanding is not a conducive of this actually being a true fact. And when the mind is right, facts don't matter anyway. Right? So here's something that I really got from Kevin Trudeau and how I was looking at life. If I told myself I want to earn $10,000 a month and I'm looking at what I'm currently working with, there's no way that's going to actually happen. So because of that, I don't actually believe that I'm going to make $10,000 a month. But what I don't understand is if I go the route of what successful people do and focus on what I want without having to worry about how I'm going to get it, that makes all the difference. See, what most of us do is we focus on how we're going to get it before we focus on what we actually want. You're looking at things the wrong way. I taught in the mindset training this weekend when I had my aha moment that all successful people decide what it is that they want first without worrying about what they have to do to actually get it. That is not even in the equation. They just look at what it is that they want. Where do they want to be in life? And they make a decision on do they want to have it or not. And when they make the decision, then they think about, okay, now let's decide on how we're going to make that happen. Because they've already made a commitment. It's a done deal. It's going to happen. The how is going to work itself out. There's no thought in their mind that is not going to happen. It is going to happen. Now we just have to figure out how to make it happen. Most people don't think like that. Most people think like I used to think. I want to make $10,000 a month, but I don't see it happening in my life. Therefore, it's not going to happen. But when you're looking at your life in a magnifying glass, it's like looking at an ant colony. And you look at that ant colony, you only see maybe 100 ants under that magnifying glass. But you don't understand that there's millions of ants that you can't see that determines what those thousands of ants in front of you are actually going to do. Things are going to happen in your life that are starting to move around you that you can't see. You say you want more money, you say you want a better job, and then what happens? You get laid off from your job. And you know what the average person does when they get laid off from their job? They say, I knew I wanted more, and look, I got laid off from my job. I guess this thing doesn't work. But what you don't realize is that getting laid off from your job is a precursor It was needed. It was a necessary event to open other doors for you that would not have happened if you were still on that job. You just don't see it yet. So the aha moment for me for the second time. See, the first time was understanding that things are happening in my life that I can't see. And I had to trust that it's going to happen because I've already decided what I wanted. That was the first aha moment. And my switch was I decided to focus on what I want to have instead of focusing on how to get it. And the moment I did that, my life changed. Things started happening that people would think is lucky or magic because I let go. I let go of the control. And here's another important fact that most people won't teach you on. It's the emotional attachment to this. How do you feel? How do you feel having achieved this goal, your goal? Once you've decided how you feel having achieved your goal, you capture that feeling and that emotion. What Tony Robbins says, it changes your physiology, which allows you to attract things in your life that's going to make that a reality. See, your brain doesn't know if it's real or not. But if you're already vibrating on that frequency, your brain is going to send that message out and start to attract things to keep you on that level. It's like tricking your brain. That was my first aha moment. Okay? But here's the second aha moment that really, it's like I really got it. Now, I really understood. Is when you're setting the game plan down. The fact that what successful people do, they make a decision of what they want without having a roadmap on how to get there. This is very important to understand. And I taught on this, but it didn't click to me until this past Saturday. And I'm excited because I know that my life has just gone another level because I actually get it now. Especially watching how these multimillionaires operate. They decide what the goal is, and then in their mind, it's already a done deal. And then they work backwards. They work backwards on how to achieve it. And they have long-term thinking on this. They don't believe that things is just going to happen overnight. See, here's what the difference between, broke-minded people and individuals who make things happen. See, a broke-minded person has created 30 to 40 years of bad habits. And when they decide that they want more out of life, here's a mistake that they make. And it's a quote that John C. Maxwell says. He says, most people are anxious to improve their circumstances, but are not anxious to improve themselves, and that is why they never grow. So what people do is they realize after 30 years, they're not happy with where their life is today. And they decide, well, I better do something drastic. I better do something out of the box. I better do what those wacky people over there who never got a college degree but are millionaires, I better do what they're doing. And they don't realize they created 30 years of bad habits that got them to where they are. And they join a business or they join an endeavor, and if they don't become rich in 30 to 60 days, they go ahead and quit and say it doesn't work. They did not manage their expectations. They expect to change 30 years of bad habits in 30 days. It doesn't work that way. You have to put time in your own personal growth and development. I've been doing this for 14 years. Only to realize I still have so far more to learn and so much to go. I'm barely at this stage in my career scratching the surface. And it is exciting because now I'm consciously aware of what's taking place. I no longer am surprised when things happen in my life. I expect it to happen. I didn't know how it was going to happen. And it's exciting to figure out, you sit back and wonder, okay, where is this going to come from? And when it happens, like, whoa, I didn't see it coming from that way. I didn't expect that. As men, we always want to have full control over our destiny. Here's the only control as a man that you need to do. Decide what it is that you want. Have the faith and belief that it's going to happen. And then capture the emotional and feeling of what it would feel like to actually have it. And then be thankful for actually getting it. If you do that, the rest will fall into play. The rest will happen. Well, how's it going to happen? How? Teach me. How? Everybody's so focused on the how, they don't even wonder why. Don't focus on the how. The how will take care of itself. Wallace D. Waddell states that success is not in doing certain things, it's doing things in a certain way. We all have the same 24 hours in a day. If you operate in a certain way, things just start to happen for you. Is the glass half full or half empty? Your answer to that question determines how you approach life and why you are where you are. And your quality of life is the measuring stick on your own personal development and growth. Which tells me I still have a long way to go. You never stop learning. Before I start getting off on a long tangent, I'm going to end there. I guess I can call the topic of this, the secret or something. But this was just random thoughts that I've been having for the last maybe 2 weeks now, but it really hit me this past weekend. And I'm amazed. I can't, it won't get out of my head. So I thought I should go ahead and just record this. And I'll go back and listen to myself and see, what I'm talking about here. I know I went off on many different tangents. Any of these topics we can talk about for 3 to 4 hours. But I just wanted to share it because I know I'm going to another level in my own stage right now. I had another aha moment, and it's exciting. I wanted to share it. So this is Brandon Ivey. Thank you guys for listening. Maybe I'll pick one of these out and go into more detail on another recording. God bless. Have a good day. Bye-bye.